guys, welcome back to the Live Strong podcast. If you are brand new here, my name is Olivia. I'm the founder and head coach of Live Strong, which is a small group and PT gym in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, in the earth, in the world. Now, this podcast we talk about being your healthiest, best self, but infused with a bit of chaos from my own life. So let's get into it. Yay! We're back again, guys. I'm in the groove with these podcasts at the moment. I'm feeling good about them. I'm enjoying doing them. I'm enjoying sitting down, enjoying editing them. But hopefully you're enjoying them as well. I probably should look at the data to see how many people watch these things or listen or whatever. But I honestly would have no idea. But that's fine. Randomly, Nath the other day was driving to work and could see in the dashboard of the person's car next to him, and they had my podcast on. And I was like, did you know who this person was? And he's like, I didn't recognize them. I was like, oh, that's strange. But how random. Not that heaps of people listen to this, but I'm like, it was probably someone from the gym. And he probably just didn't get a good look at them. But I was like, that's so funny. What are the odds? Anyway, we're back with another episode today, guys. We're going to be talking about showing up as your best self today in the main portion of the podcast. So hang around for that. We've got a few little bits and bubbles to get through first. What was my high of the week last week? I know you've been wanting to know. But on Saturday last weekend, we went and watched the ice hockey in Newcastle. The Newcastle team, what are they called? East Stars? No, North Stars. The bloody East Stars. North Star hockey team or something. I don't know. And I've never gone and seen a hockey game in Newcastle before, an ice hockey game. Wow, it was a bit of a blast. The people there were really into it. That was the sport they followed, which obviously, people would follow ice hockey. But I don't know, it just seems like a random sport in Newcastle, which is a coastal town. Also, I'm like, who puts their kid into ice hockey? How does that come about? But I think we sort of worked out people who, people who are figure skaters or, have grown up around that, then you'd put your kids into it. But I'm like, you don't know many people that play ice hockey, random. But anyway, it was so much fun. Highly recommend. The season's done now. I don't know when the next season starts. I don't know much about it. I was learning the rules as I was there. But big sleigh, fun times, big tick of approval. I would return. So if you're looking for a weekend activity, go to the ice hockey. And then my low for the week, let's have a think. I don't really know I've got a headache at the moment. That's a bit of a low, but that's fine. We'll overcome the headache. Dun, 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 dun. I really should prepare these, shouldn't I, guys? I don't really know what my low is last week. I feel like I had a good week of training, good week of food. Yeah, I had a good weekend because it was just chill. We didn't really do too much at all, just chilled. I watched a lot of TV, laid on the lounge, had a nap on Sunday. See, they're all good things. Napping is good. Went for a run this morning. Yeah, guys, I don't think I have any lows for you. The only thing I can think of is that my contacts are still annoying me, which is still I think it's causing my headaches currently. But I guess that's a bit of a low. Anyway, we'll be more prepared next week, won't we? Recommendation for the week, though. Dun, 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 dun. I'm back with another TV rec, movie rec, show rec. I think I gave one of these the other week. I can't remember now. But I watched My Oxford Year on Netflix, which my friends had told me to watch. And then it was number 1 on Netflix and number 2 on Netflix for a week or two. But watched it on the weekend on my lazy day and so good. So good. It was just an easy watch, a heartwarming watch, a bit emotional. But yeah, I don't know. Netflix shows are a bit annoying. Some of Netflix movies are a bit hey, how you going? I feel the female the main actor in it, she gave me Netflix vibes, which was a bit of an ick because I don't know, there's something about, it's they wear this really clear microphone or something that it makes it feels like it's fake when they speak. I don't know. So that was a bit of an ick in it. But if you want to watch a movie, it's probably like a more of a girly movie. I feel like maybe if your partner, you know, is someone who loves to watch shows with you, maybe they'd watch it as well, but probably more of like a girly movie. My Oxford Year, I think it's cool. I called it my Harvard Year in the gym the other day, and everyone's like, "What are you on about, woman?" But yeah, I think that's all my updates for you this week, guys. Nothing too crazy happening over in my world. Anyway, let's get into the real deal for today and talk about being our best self. Okay, so I want everyone we're going to do a bit of a task here together, So I want everyone to think about what your life would look like if you constantly showed up as your best self. So that doesn't mean like you were perfect, but maybe you're intentionally trying to be the very best version of you that you could be in that day. Like, what would your life look like? Like, what would have, even today, like the day you're living currently, what would that look like if you have been or are being your best self? Now, for me, let's bring it back to me. For me, if I'm showing up as my best self in like a general sense, not in a specific circumstance, that's when I feel like, you know, I can show my personality, you know, bubbly, outgoing, happy personality. I feel like I'm making a positive impact on the people's life around me. Maybe I'm insightful or slightly intelligent and not just waffling, because I find that sometimes I can get overwhelmed and just start talking without actually putting my point across. So that's what I sort of mean by intellectual. Maybe I'm working hard, so I've done all the things in order for me to work my hardest and at my fullest potential for that day. And I guess doing things that I know I'm capable of. So as like a bit of a checklist, that's sort of what I think of myself when I'm being my best and how I would be showing up as my best. But we all know that not all of the time you are showing up as your best self. Like, we know that there's days where you just don't feel like yourself. You know, you don't feel like you're putting your best cards on the table, or whatever the saying is, putting your best foot forward. And that's okay. Like, that happens to all of us. But I think for a lot of people, that happens more times than not, where it should be happening the other way. It should be happening more times than not. You are showing up as your best self. And then there's those times when, you know, you're just not your best and you've just got to move into the next day, sort of thing. But it's like, how do we show up as our best self? And what does that even mean? Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that seem like? And I guess, why would we do that as well? So your best self is different for everyone, right? So my best self is, I want my best self to be different to what your best self is. Like, what my expectation of that is would look like different to yours. And like I said before, it isn't about you being perfect, because no one's perfect. Like, that's what, well, look, some people think they are. But it's not about being perfect. It's about, like I said before, being intentional and being present, prepared, aligned with your values. Like, these are the sort of things and reasons as to why you'd be showing up as your best. So as like a little, I guess, example here, in the gym, showing up as your best self might mean that you've fueled properly for your workout, you've gone into the gym, you've given it everything you had that day, you felt like you weren't, fluffing around between your sets, you were taking your rest breaks seriously, you were tracking your weights accordingly, and even if you had a rough day at work, let's say that day, and you went into the gym a bit tired and maybe you didn't hit a PB, but you were able to still perform at your best for that day because you were fueled correctly, you still had intention, you were still following and tracking data, so you showed up as your best still. Compared to, potentially, you've had a shit day at work, so you've been feeling super stressed, you were rushed to the gym so that you missed having your pre-workout snack. You got there and you had such a shit day, you could not be bothered to open up your phone and get your app up to track your workout. Therefore, you had no idea what weights you did the week before. You were just chatting around because, again, you weren't feeling great, so you just weren't in the zone. And therefore, you probably left feeling not super accomplished. Okay? Didn't show up as your best self. That can be happening, also at work. Maybe you were underprepared for something, or, you were not super focused one day and therefore you didn't get all your tasks done, where, maybe if you were organized for that day and you'd come in, maybe you'd put a little bit extra effort in the day before, you're more organized and you're going to have a busy day. Therefore, even if you still didn't get all your things done for that day, maybe you got more done than you would have got done if you weren't organized. You see what I mean? Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be doing crazy things, but there's ways that we can be at our best, even when we're not at our best. We can be better, right? So if we do this all of the time, it would be fabulous, to be perfect all the time. But it's obviously not possible, and there's obviously barriers to being and showing up as your best self. If not, we would do it all the time, right? And so there's obviously physical barriers. You're being stressed, you're tired, maybe you have an injury and that's sort of also playing on things. Maybe there's mental barriers for you. Maybe you're giving yourself a lot of negative self-talk, like you're putting yourself down. Maybe you're comparing yourself to people. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed that day, that week, that month, that life, whatever. Maybe there's environmental barriers. So that could be like an actual physical environment, of where you're at, or the workplace you work at, or, time you have to spend getting from A to B or whatever. Or it could be the environment, as in the environment you surround yourself in. So that could be the people that you surround yourself with as well. Could be draining, could be time consuming, could be, terrible. I don't know. Or your barriers could also just be simple as not really having clarity on what your best self is. And that might mean that you don't really know what your values are, and maybe you don't hold yourself to a standard, or you don't expect much from yourself. So that's sort of what, in a glimpse, our best self is. Like what I'm talking about when I'm talking about showing up as your best self, and, maybe why you don't always show up as your best self. And maybe how sometimes it's hard to show up as your best self. But we all have the ability to show up either as our best self or as a better version of ourselves. So I want to give you guys a few tips. I've got five steps here for you to start practicing being your best. And then hopefully this helps you achieve more in your day-to-day life. Because this is what I see so much with clients, is that they put themselves on this really low pedestal, right? They don't think that they're able to achieve these things, or, there's people telling them they can't achieve these things, or they just can't even visualize them doing said things or actions, or being that way, or, being able to help someone in some way, shape or form, because they don't look at themselves as their best. They look at themselves as their worst. And imagine if every day you looked at yourself as the best version you could for that day, how much more you could get out of that 24 hours, like physically, emotionally, mentally, in relationships, in all ways, shapes of life. Okay. Hopefully you're feeling this deep emotion with me right now, and we're ready to dive deep into our 5 steps. Also, guys, there's a bird in my dead tree that I talked about last week. Maybe this is why the tree's dying. Get out of the tree, sir. He didn't move. Okay, so step 1 is very simple. In the morning, when you get out of bed, maybe you're having a shower, maybe you're cleaning your teeth, ask yourself, how am I going to show up as my best self today? Or, how do I want to show up today? Not even as your best self. How do I want to show up today with whatever you're doing in your day? And this is going to help set the standard for the day. Okay, I know it sounds cheesy, and I'm not into the cheesiness, guys. Like, that's not my life. I don't revolve myself around these sort of concepts, right? But unintentionally, I do this. Okay, and I have a really clear example in my head of how this has helped me in the past. So we're going to talk about that now. But back in the day, I was doing my registered nursing at uni, while I was still running my own business. So it was a bit of a crazy time in my life because I obviously was a bit confused with what I was doing with my life. And we'd have to do placement. So what would happen is let's say if I was on a morning shift in the hospital, I'd do morning shifts in the hospital and then I'd work, 3, 4, 5 hours in the Arvo in the gym with clients, and I do that for the week, Monday to Friday, and then, maybe you do it for 4, 5 weeks or something. So it was quite a draining few weeks, and I wouldn't say I loved placement. I never really loved being a nurse. Obviously I didn't end up doing, I don't work as a nurse now. So, but I didn't really love it. So I would absolutely dread going to placement. I'd be like, well, I'd think I'm stupid. They're going to ask me questions that I don't know the answer of. I don't like doing X, Y, and Z when I'm there. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like, it was all negative. The whole concept was negative. But I was driving to the John Hunter Hospital one day. I literally can remember me doing this. And I remember thinking to myself, what if today you just had a good day? Like, what if I just had a good day today? I get to, one, I'm breathing, I'm helping people, I'm learning, I'm a step closer to finish this degree, which didn't matter at the end. But, what if today I just had a good day? And that was it sounds so bizarre, but that was the turning point for me to decide with, I didn't drop out of the uni degree that day. Maybe that was my having a good day, but no, I didn't. I think this was like in my first year. So I did many more placements after this, but I decided that I was going to wake up and not be negative about the experience. I was going to be positive. It'd be another day closer to placements being done. Like I said, I'd be able to help each other, help people. So I was going to put my best foot forward rather than moping around like a sad sack, hating that day, hating that week, hating that month, and then like nothing positive comes from it. So I guess in my ramble of the story, it's like if you ask yourself in the morning, how am I going to be my best self, or how am I going to show up today? Okay, well, I've got a pretty stressful day at work, but today I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to make sure that I say hello to Joe Blow the six next to me because I know that he's been having a tough day at home or whatever, Set intentions of things that you're going to do that day to help you show up as your best self. I'm going to make sure I pack my lunch so that I'm more organized for another day. I'm going to make sure I pack my gym clothes so that I can go straight to the gym after work. Like positive things, okay? So ask yourself how you're going to be your best self. Second thing is having energy management. So to be your best self, you need to be, I guess, feeling like your best self. And this comes when you're doing positive things for yourself, positive things for your energy, positive things for your health. This can be eating correct foods. This can be moving your body, exercising, going for a walk, going outside. This could be, drinking enough water in that day, all these sorts of things. Now, the best way to sort of summarize this point is when people do our 8-week challenges, which we've done heaps and heaps of over the years, people always feel like they are their best self when they're doing them. And our 8 weeks are never about you restricting yourself completely. Yes, maybe you have to make sacrifices for your goals, whatever. I'm not going down that rabbit hole right now. But they feel like their best self because they're organized with their nutrition. Therefore, they're eating enough food. They're fueling for their workouts. Therefore, they have a good workout. They're showing up to the gym that's making them feel good. They're seeing results in the gym because they're being consistent enough. They're focusing on their water, so maybe their skin clearing up. They're focusing on their sleep, so they're feeling more rested. They're feeling more rested, so they're not as stressed at work. They're not as angry with their partner. All of these lead-on effects make them feel their best, which is, I always try and remind people of this because then when they get out of these habits, then they start to not feel like their best. And I'm like, well, if we just continue or constantly implement these habits, you are going to continue to feel like your best. So thinking about like, are you doing these positive things for yourself that are going to help you show up as your best self, right? And it doesn't have to be crazy things. Like I said, it could just be being organized with your lunch for work so that you have food, or having fuel around your training, or making sure you're turning up to the gym, the 2-3 times a week that you can, whatever it could be. So yeah, that's number 2. My issue, guys, is that first, I can't see how long I talk for when I do these things, which I need like a clock somewhere. But like, also I could just rave on with these topics for so long. So hopefully I'm not raving on and I'm getting my point across to you all. My third out of my 5 tips is having a mindset shift from seeing progress rather than being perfect. Because everyone thinks that they've got to be doing everything 100% all the time, the all or nothing approach. I hate the bloody all or nothing approach because everyone is consumed by it. And it's draining for me because I talk about it so much with clients, because we think that we have to be perfect. We have to be ticking all the boxes to be able to see results, to be able to be our best, to, take the next step. You don't. You just have to be consistent. You have to be doing some form of the things, and you have to be constantly doing those things. So we don't have to be doing the perfect things. Okay? So that's you also realizing that one day of something bad happening or failure happening doesn't mean that life's over. It just means you pick up and you carry on. So having that mindset shift that it's okay to not be perfect. When you are your best self, being your best self doesn't mean you being 100% perfect. Maybe that means you learning. Your best self could be being open to learn, right? And that might have been from a failure, but after the failure, you were open to learn and experience change because of X, Y, and Z happened. Therefore, you showed up as your best self. Rather than seeing failure and then shutting it down and being like, I suck, I'm a loser, I can never do this again. Well, yeah, that's probably not being your best self, dull. You see? Number 4 is your environment, which is a really, really big one. And people can't show up as their best self when they are supported or they're surrounded by a negative, toxic, draining environment. So I see this in like 2 main places. Place A being people's work environment. I have so many clients that are motivated and they're driven and they want to see change, and they want to show up to the gym, let's say 4 times a week. They want to prep their food for work and whatnot. And maybe these are big changes in their life, but they're determined to do these things. But maybe their work is being the factor that's not letting them this happen. Like, let's say for some people who might work in an office job, just as an example. So maybe their work is, overloading them with work. They're not required to, but it's frowned upon if they don't, maybe start early in the morning to start doing things so they don't get behind. And then if they don't finish their work for the day, they have to stay late to finish it at the end of the day, so that they miss their gym session, and maybe even they miss dinner because they were home so late. Then they don't get enough sleep because they've got to get up in the morning because they're still behind to get organized for the next day, right? This probably is being flagged with people as I'm speaking that, maybe it's not even work, but maybe a different environment where that sort of negative cycle happens. Or they're at work and, their work colleagues all go out for lunch every day. So this client of mine is bringing food to the office to have, but they're getting influenced by these people around them to not follow their plan that they've set for themselves, which is only making it harder for them. So their work life and work colleagues and work environment and work hours is not allowing them to show up as their best self. Because our life is more than work, So they're probably not able to do their best work when they're unhappy with themselves. They're not healthy. They're not fueling themselves properly. They're not getting enough sleep. Like, it's a continuous negative cycle, right? So that's one way I see all the time, people's work being so negative on them. And like, guys, you can't quit your job. Like, I understand this. Do I think that it's easier for me to say when I'm my own boss, but do I think that sometimes it would be worth having a hard conversation with a superior with how you're feeling? Potentially, if you've been like, look, I'm feeling quite overworked, overrun. Is there a way that I can help manage my load? Can you help me? Like, not them do your work, but maybe you need help to be able to manage your load better between your 9 to 5. Maybe there's things that you could be doing to be more proactive and stuff, but like maybe you need to reach out for assistance or Tell your boss, okay, well, I'm meant to clock off at 5, but I'm staying back till 7. I'm happy to, get the work done, blah, 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 maybe come in the morning, but, I really prioritize going to the gym. That happens Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I need to be out, no later than half an hour. Like, have these hard conversations, obviously within reason, but sometimes they need to be had, yeah? Or maybe you need a new job, just plain, blunt, simple. Second thing is that people's partners are not supportive, and they think they love their partners and they probably love you, but, your partner's not being supportive by, let's say you're cooking at home and they're like, well, we're having KFC for dinner. Okay, well, maybe they love KFC, but also, look, it probably wouldn't hurt them to have a home-cooked meal as well. And I know that's me being blunt, blah, 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 but I see that all the time when we're doing our 8-week challenges, when people's partners won't eat the food that they're eating. And, like, I understand you don't have to be eating these foods, but a lot of the food that our clients eat during these challenges are normal food. It's spaghetti bolognese, it's schnitzel and chips, it's steak and chips, it's salmon and rice. Like, it's normal food. They can have different quantities, different flavors, different sauces, whatever. But, like, they're making your life harder because you're maybe having to cook 2 dinners, or maybe you're having to sit next to them while they're eating KFC. Like, that's not good. Or, another one that I see a lot, which I guess, I don't know, I'm not going to have too many opinions on, but, like, a lot of the time I see mums being like, I can't train in the morning because my husband goes to the gym 5 days a week in the morning. My husband goes to the gym in the morning every day, and then he goes to work. So I'm responsible for getting up with the kids, getting them organized for school, and then, getting them to school, and then I go to work or whatever. This is just an example, right? Where, again, I'm a very, like, we share the load type of situation. Boys aren't better than girls, girls aren't better than boys vibe. But, maybe what your partner might need to do is go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning. And the other 2 days a week, you could go to the gym in the morning and they could get the kids up. Obviously I understand rosters and shit. It may not. This obviously is just a scenario that I'm making up in my head. But I think that a lot of people just put up with these things. They put up with having to do X, Y, and Z at home or with their family or with their partner, and don't realize that maybe something could change that could be more positive for them. And same with the work. They put up with these things because they don't think there's anything could change to be positive for them. But if there was positive responses from both of these scenarios here, guys, this person could show up as a better person. Therefore, a better colleague, a better, employee, a better wife, a better mum, a better husband, a better dad, whatever. But their environment isn't allowing them to do it. So, like, bringing it back to the whole scenario here, that if you surround yourself with positive people who understand your vision, who have open communication with you about your goals and about their goals, and they support you, maybe they give you hard truths, maybe they compromise on things, you're only going to have better results. So it's being aware of who those people are and what those environments look like for you, and making sure you're putting yourself in them. And then the last thing to sort of like wrap that up is having reflection on your day. And, at the end of the day, maybe we're back in the shower, back cleaning our teeth at the end of the day. Did I show up my best self? Yes, no, how? What can I learn from? What can I grow from? What could I do better next time? Because, more times than not, there's always ways we could have done something better that day. You could have had a better conversation with someone. You could have not reacted to something. You could be more proactive, whatever, right? But that's only going to help you show up as your best self the next day. So there are me 5 points, team. In summary, should we go through them one more? Ask yourself, how do you want to show up today? The next one, make sure you're managing your energy. Third one, having positive mindset. Fourth one, having a positive environment. And our last one, reflecting on your day. Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? But I think if you think about those things right now, there's probably ways you could improve. Even just back at number 2 with the energy management, like that's obviously a lot of what my job is improving that energy management with people's exercise, nutrition, daily habits and stuff like that. But there's probably something positive you could be doing better in that regime to help you show up as your best self better, right? Now, as I've already said, you won't be your best self every day, and that's okay. But it's about being a bit aware of being your best self, and even just thinking about this at all is going to help you be better than what you probably have been, because you probably not even thought about this, right? And your best self will look different on different days, because some days you're having a bloody shit day. And you can't be like, this day is shit, maybe like, let's say the dog had diarrhea. I don't know why I think about these weird examples. Let's say you woke up, the dog had diarrhea, so you had to clean it up, you're late for work, you did forget your lunch. Like, you've had a fucking shit morning, guys. You're not having the best day. But when you get to work, you sit at your desk, how can I have a better day? Like, let's bloody turn this shit around. Let's have a better day. Okay, well, maybe today, to have a better day, I'm going to make sure I have a good, yummy lunch. I'm going to have something that I enjoy, because I know it's going to make me feel better. I've missed brekkie, so bloody I need some calories in me. I'm going to set a list of to-do things. I'm going to make sure I get out of work on time to go to the gym. And then Bob's your uncle, I've checked on the dog. The dog's fine. The dog's fine. Don't worry about the dog, guys. But, I've been able to show up as my best self. Even though the first 6 hours of my day was absolute shit show, no pun intended, I've been able to still show up as my best self. Where other days, you might be like, okay, yesterday I had a really good day. I was organized. I'm organized for this new day at work. I'm waking up. Like, let's have a bloody good day. Let's even, let's buy someone's coffee at work. Like, make you feel good. Whatever. Have a good day. Show up as your bestest self ever. So, in summary, okay, because we love a summary, your best self isn't a destination. It's a daily choice. Like I said when I was on placement, choice. Show up for yourself, and you'll be amazed at how you show up for everyone else. And that's sort of my environmental factor as well, Remember, best self means better for everyone else as well, not just for you. You're not being selfish. Your best self isn't being selfish. I love this topic because I think everyone could get something positive out of thinking about this more. Even myself, like the reminder of doing it will only help me be the better version of myself. Okay, team, I hope you found that slightly insightful and you're going to start thinking about it. But we're wrapping up the main topic for today and we're going to move on to my rate or hates of the week. Now, if you haven't listened to an episode before, I'm doing a rate or hate every week. 5 rate or hates, where I either rate it, which means yay, love it, or hate it, which means boo, hate it, obviously. And they're random things. I put a poll on the Instagram page, which is at Live Strong Podcast. Maybe there's an underscore in there, don't know. I put it on Monday to get a few random ones, which people honestly do put random ones on there, which I love. And you know what? I'm just giving you guys my opinion on random things. Some are health and fitness, some are just random life things. My opinion isn't much on many things, so you don't have to hold this like it's gospel, but, random, let's go. First one is sitting on the shower floor. 3, 2, 1, big fucking rate. I love sitting on the shower floor, especially here in our house where we live now, our beautiful house. It's a nice big shower. I get down on the ground. Every morning, I probably have I try and limit myself to 10 minutes in the shower. A 10-minute shower in the morning at 4 a.m. I honestly feel like that. Oh, microphone. I actually think I've just thought of this, guys. Oh, fuck, guys. My mic just broke. Not my Hannah Montana mic. It's all right. It's okay. I'm just going to hold on to these now. But sorry, I've got distracted there. If you're listening to this and not watching the visual, you honestly miss out on all of my craziness that happens. But by me having that 10 minutes in the morning, I literally sit on the shower floor. I generally sit on my phone as well on the shower floor, which, I don't know if people are into the phones in the shower, but I use mine in the shower. That 10 minutes helps me set up for the day. I'm able to this is my 10 minutes in the morning where I actually able to reflect on what's going to happen that day. I check my emails, I check my to-do list. I can scroll Instagram for a second if I want, but it's my 10-minute time because as soon as I get out of that shower, I'm getting ready, getting dressed, getting in the car, go to work, class, and set up for the gym, class starts. And then I'm working for the next bloody 100 hours of the day. So that's my me time that helps me show up as my best self. If I don't have that 10 minutes in the morning, then I haven't checked my emails, and I don't check them for a few hours then. Like I can't really get onto my phone and can miss things and whatnot. So big yes, I recommend. Second one is pre-workout. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to controversially say hate, but it's not a big hate. I wouldn't say hate. It's just dislike. Look, maybe I'm not even on the hate, but I'm definitely not a rate. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think pre-workout helps me for mental focus in the gym, which it does have benefits, but I'm a bit off my supplement train at the moment, if I'm going to be honest, guys. Supplements are they're just supplements. They're not necessary for results. But yeah, pre-workout's good. If you train later in the Arvo, potentially, I would find it more useful. But I find my best pre-workout is food. If I have a good pre-workout feed, I've got energy. That's all I need. I don't mind an energy drink, but that doesn't have the same factors as the pre-workout. I think I just like the taste. And it, helps me with a bit of energy as well. So yeah, look, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't recommend clients to get it. If they have it, it's fine. I'm not against them, but for me, no, I'm not a pre-workout gal. And I've on and off. I've never been someone who's religiously had it. Second one, which is such a random one, people doing barbell curls in the squat rack. So random. But 3, 2, 1, I think it would have its place, but probably hate. You could probably just do barbell curls out in the floor. People would only really do them in the rack because they would want to look at themselves doing them. But you could just use a pre-made bar. This isn't a commercial gym. In my gym, we do things in specific locations generally so that the class runs well. So more times than not, we'll do them in the rack because we need, we're using that area. But in a commercial gym, I think this is meaning more of the squat racks are being used for squats and stuff, but then someone's taken, you're unable to use it because someone's doing barbell curls. You'd probably be annoyed. Be like, do you mind just standing over there so I can actually squat in this rack doll? So yeah, that's that one. The ocean is next. 3, 2, 1. Right. Love the ocean. Yeah, I actually used to surf as a kid. Don't surf anymore. Potentially a hobby I want to get back into. But yeah, used to be in the French and board riders up the FBR. So don't mind the ocean. Not scared of the ocean. Not scared of swimming or anything in the ocean. I really want to go scuba diving, but the thing that scares me about scuba diving is the breathing. I don't think I'm necessarily scared about being down there with the animals. Sometimes I go a bit when there's big things, when you're snorkeling and stuff. But I'm more scared of that I'm going to start hyperventilating on the oxygen because I don't know. That's what scares me. So that's my thought when the ocean comes. But it's something I really want to do. I want to do it. So that's my limiting factors stopping me. I'm going to do it one day though. And my last one, guys, is listening to a podcast during a warm-up. 3, 2, 1. I'm in the middle. I'm really indecisive, I know, on all these. I sometimes do this, especially if I listen to a podcast in the car on the way to the gym, then I'll continue in my warm-up in my ear, but I do think it can be distracting, and I do think it doesn't help you get in the gym motivation as much because, when you've got a podcast in, you're sort of distracted thinking about the podcast, where if you've got music in, you're just getting in the vibes of the workout. When I run, sometimes I listen to a podcast for the first half of my run, which I find is if I'm not running with anyone, I think that's sort of a distraction. And then I put music in for the second half for more of a send it vibe. So I'm not against it. But maybe if you're struggling to get into your training headspace, maybe don't do it. Yeah, that is my rate or hate for the week, team. Also, I should have given a disclaimer. My hair's a bit wet because I've just washed it. So I'm not looking like my best self, but I'm showing up as my best self, which is all that matters, doesn't it? As we now know. Anyway, another one bites the dust, team. Another potty done. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I feel like this podcast will be really insightful, but I do think I've raved on. So please let me know if you think it's been a bit of a blabber or I've got my point across. I'd love to know. I love the feedback. Positive and negative feedback, topics you want me to cover, rate or hate you want me to do. Yeah. Big slay, hooray. See you next week. Kisses.